Good afternoon, everybody. We'll come to order now. This is the Standing Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs, and we're continuing our study of suicide amongst Indigenous peoples and communities. And welcome to everybody. We're meeting today on the historic land of the Algonquin people, for which we're very grateful. And we've got two panels today. The first is the First Nations Health Managers Association, who is seated with us in the room, and the second is the Canadian Indigenous Nurses Association, who's joining us by teleconference, and we're happy to have you all here. So the way this works is that each organization has 10 minutes to present, and I see in both cases we've got two people from each organization. You can share that 10 minutes between you any way that you would see fit. When you get to around 9 minutes, I'm going to hold up a yellow card. It means we're nearing the end. And then when we're out of time, I'll hold up the red card, and I'd ask you to please finish up at that point. And then we'll move into questions from committee members at that point. So with that explanation, I would welcome Marion Crow, Executive Director of the First Nations Health Managers Association, to take the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As mentioned, my name is Marion Crow. I'm a Cree woman from the Pye Pot First Nation in Saskatchewan, and I'm here in the capacity of the founding executive director of the First Nation Health Managers Association. With me, of course, is Mr. Calvin Morisseau, board executive member and Ontario representative of the First Nation Health Managers Association, and Mr. Morisseau works as the executive director of the Fort Frances Tribal Health Services. As you indicated, Chair, we are on Algonquin territory, and we'd like to acknowledge that territory that this hearing is being held today. We also want to send our condolences to the families who are impacted and grieving due to the very reason why we're here. Our thanks to the Standing Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs for the invitation to speak and to provide our testimony related to life promotion strategies. It really is a responsibility that we carry with humility and pride. The First Nation Health Managers Association, herein referred to as FNHMA, so if you guys hear me say that all the time, we were founded in September 2010. We're a national professional organization providing certification and professional development opportunities to health managers and directors who work in and with First Nation communities from across Canada. We have over 300 members and a network of approximately 1,200 First Nation health leaders, which represent grassroots health professionals who administer, who advocate, and in some instances are clinicians who are practicing health services in our communities. There are over 100 certified First Nation health managers across Canada, designated by our organization. We are a certification program that is built on core competencies that we created and led by grassroots health leaders. Right now, we're the only organization in Canada that has a curriculum built around relevant health services and practices and a governance that is actually reflected in our communities and incorporates and respects culture as part of our competencies. This makes us unique as we celebrate and share our inherent knowledge while balancing and maintaining management principles. We have brought with us today evidence that speaks to our subject matter expertise in First Nation health service delivery, and that will be distributed. It's been given to the clerk, so thank you. It's the textbook written by FNHMA, who was largely authored by our certified members from across Canada. We are uniquely positioned to share the experiences of grassroots health managers on the ground in our communities. The issue that has brought us here today is suicide prevention. We usually don't speak from a deficit position, so we'll refer to it as life celebration, please. We bring forward 4 recommendations for consideration as a really small part of the larger strategy that is required to make inroads to this issue. Before we get into our proposed solutions, in reviewing previous witness testimony, we know you've had 42 witnesses prior to us. We feel obligated to note that Thunderbird Partnership Foundation is absent in the witness testimony. Thunderbird Partnership Foundation is an FNHMA partner, and they're committed to working with First Nations and Inuit to further the capacity in communities to address substance abuse and addictions. We would implore the committee to consider their participation in this very important work. Our very first recommendation that we bring to the committee As we already know from previous testimony, research, and academic studies, we are facing an issue, that is pervasive in our communities. We are specifically speaking to the testimony that's already been provided on the First Nation Mental Wellness Continuum Framework. It identifies a continuum of services needed to promote mental wellness and provides advice on policy and program changes that will enhance First Nation mental wellness and outcomes. This framework enables to adapt, optimize, and realign mental health wellness programs and services based on our own priorities. The framework includes a number of elements that support the health system, which include governance, research, workforce development, change and risk management, self-determination, and performance measurement. Health services integration among federal, provincial, and territorial programs is critical to its success. Discussing how to implement the framework in our communities is actually really important to us as an organization, and it'll be a highlight at our National Annual Conference this year. Our delegates are at the forefront of life celebration, and suicide prevention will be a very valuable resource when discussing the implementation of this framework. We also refer to previous testimony that cites the urgent need to implement the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada 94 calls to action in order to redress the legacy of residential schools and advance the process of Canadian reconciliation. But you have heard that already. Our second recommendation that we bring increases the efforts in certification and accreditation in our communities. These are key elements to FNHMA. We see in health services accreditation recommendations all the time around governance and capital. Investments need to be made in our communities on capital assets to even be able to reach health services accreditation. Investments such as the repairing of our existing facilities, and also the creation of new treatment and quality health centers. Having a certified health manager in our communities will contribute to increasing accreditation goals made by this very government, Health Canada, the First Nations and Inuit Health Branch. Our third recommendation is around strengthening the existing networks that are already in place, such as FNHMA and the Canadian Indigenous Nurses Association, who are also here to testify today. Also to the other national Indigenous organizations who are leading capacity in our communities. We have to reinvest in them and redress the cuts that were made in 2011. This will increase the supports to our health professionals that are on the ground who are leading, advocating, and creating partnerships to implement the health services integration in our communities that's required. Our existing national Indigenous organizations require equitable support to continue the journey of capacity building.
Thank you, Miriam. Our fourth recommendation, investing in the capacity of our frontline workers to further contribute to strengthen our health service delivery. This transfer of health services to First Nation control, as demonstrated in the BC Tripartite Agreement, is pivotal in enabling communities to decide where to invest their own health resources as self-determined. A note here, one of the four pillars in the creation of the Tripartite Agreement was solely focused around health directors, underpinning the importance of their role in delivering health services. This, in conjunction with having a certified workforce in place, will contribute to achieving these solutions. In addition, these potential four solutions, we can take a small step in moving forward with having meaningful foundations of contributing to Indigenous life promotions and quality health systems.
A very specific example that we wanted to bring to the committee around this is demonstrated in the 2015 budget that the Government of Canada renewed the Aboriginal Health Human Resources Initiative, AHRI is the acronym, but with a reduced ongoing budget of $4.5 million nationally. The renewed AHRI funds are intended to support capacity building and to increase the number of Aboriginal people entering into health careers. This program is delivered through two streams. One, scholarships and bursaries that are provided to Aboriginal students pursuing health careers, such as nurses and doctors, but these aren't the folks who are necessarily going back into our communities. The second stream that AHRI funds is training and certification for community-based workers. That is including the First Nation Health Manager's director or health manager position. While this current investment is being made, the second stream is the only existing program for our community-based workers who are on the ground to apply to. $3 million of the $4.5 million goes to scholarships and bursaries, a vehicle through Inspire, and the remaining $1.5 million nationally is split among the Health Canada, First Nations, and Inuit Health regional offices. This amount is insufficient to meet the current professional development and certification needs in our community. A specific component of the mental wellness continuum framework underpins the need for capacity and that it'll play a key role in ensuring the continuum of mental wellness programs and services that are relevant, effective, and meet our community needs.
We are well positioned to establish as being leaders in the First Nation health service and professional development. First Nation Health Managers is an organization that has an existing knowledge circle that collects, promotes, and shares leading practices to assist in strengthening the capacity of our members at a local level. We are committed to being a part of the solution and can be a valuable partner in strategies moving forward. We are the credentials made for and by First Nations. Our members are frontline workers and subject matter experts in First Nations health service delivery. We heartfully thank you for your time today, and it has been an honor and a privilege to be called upon to witness to this discussion as it literally impacts the current and future lives of our nations.
Thank you very much, Ms. Crow and Mr. Morso, for your presentations. Very much appreciated. We'll move right into the presentation from the Canadian Indigenous Nurses Association. And from that organization, we have Dr. Lisa Bork-Bearskin, the president, and Lindsay Jones, who is an Indigenous nursing student. Welcome to you both. I'm happy to give the floor to you for 10 minutes to share amongst yourselves either way. You may not be able to see my cards very well, so if I sense you don't see them, I may just tell you 1 minute remaining, and then we're out of time, so you can hear me as well. Okay, please, without any delay, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Tanse, hello, bonjour, Kanaskomtin. I want to thank the chair and the committee for this invitation to present on behalf of the Indigenous Nurses Association and to support the families who have lost loved ones. I'd like to begin by honoring the traditional territory, as you've mentioned, of the Algonquin people. I am from Beaver Lake, Cree Nation, in Treaty 6 in northern Alberta, and as you mentioned, this president of the Canadian Nurses and Indigenous Nursing Association, who's worked in the healthcare service delivery my entire life as a nurse. I am now an associate professor at the School of Nursing at Thompson River University, and today I have Lindsay Jones with me. She is one of our CNA nursing members and a student here at Thompson River who's studying community health within an Indigenous community. So beyond the symbolic ritual of place, this acknowledgement signals the urgent challenges we face in the era of reconciliation. The struggle for human rights and equitable health care for our Indigenous children and youth is a collective and vitally important undertaking. So I come to you today as a survivor. I am reminded what our elders and traditional knowledge holders continue to tell us as we continue to reflect on our own philosophy, the spirit of wellness, and the struggle for self-determination. We have to know who we are and where we come from, while walking in the footsteps of those who have moved on to the spirit world, at the same time of creating footprints for those who come before us. It is clear that the health of Indigenous youth is intimately related to the history of colonization, residential schools, removal of the child from their homes and their culture. We know the statistics are grim, and that one of the most difficult things in life to face is the reality that somebody close to you has committed suicide. This harsh aspect of life is all too real for First Nations, Inuit, and Métis families. What we know is that Indigenous youth suicide is the most significant public health issue facing our societies. Our brief presentation today will address how the Canadian Indigenous Nurses Association, I'll refer to as CINA, can contribute to the addressing crisis by offering 3 recommendations for the committee's consideration. These recommendations address the sustainable funding, to which you've heard extensively about, to improve access to high-quality, culturally responsive, and integrated health service delivery by increasing the number of Indigenous nurses working with individuals across the lifespans, across the nations, and across our northern communities specifically, where the elevated risk of suicide are at alarming levels. You've heard about the productive factors, you've heard about the risks. It is CINA's position that we stand united in support of our Indigenous other Indigenous-led organizations and researchers who have undertaken extensive inquiries into this topic. Our first recommendation is to advocate for sustainable funding for CINA as a national leader on behalf of our frontline nurses and the communities they serve. Firmly rooted in this recommendation is the belief that Canadian Indigenous Nurses Association can significantly contribute to the overall wellness of our Indigenous youth by supporting and fostering the human potential and creating community capacity to deal with the issues at the local level with frontline workers. Most do not realize CINA is the longest-standing professional Indigenous health organization in the history of Canada. It is a non-profit, voluntarily run organization that is governed by 12 Indigenous nurses whose vision is to be recognized as a vital expert in advancing the health of Indigenous communities with an end view to improve the First Nations Inuit people's health and well-being. Our organization began as a political support to Manish Beijing when she started to take this on back in the early 70s. CINA members are the doorway to the Indigenous communities and delivers its core strength from its membership base. Currently, there are approximately 9,000 Indigenous nurses in Canada, which represents a huge untapped and underestimated resource. CINA holds real potential to expand its work as nurse members. Our CINA nurses continue to bring their unique and diverse languages, understandings of culture, healing traditions to their practice. Their roles as stewards of Indigenous nursing knowledge informs the ongoing development of local, regional, national Indigenous health policy and service programs around the country. CINA believes that addressing youth suicide can be achieved by putting health of its youth back into the trusted hands of its families, communities, nations, and nurses. This includes Indigenous leadership by promoting the development of practice of Indigenous health nursing that is grounded in Indigenous knowledge and the expertise that our members hold. In advancing our mission, CINA engages in activities related to recruitment, retention, member support, consultation. For the 5 past decades, CINA has traversed this ever-changing environment. What we are experiencing is an urgent call for action for reconciliation, decolonization, and incorporation of traditional approaches to health and wellness. We need to apply the metaphor, culture is medicine. Unlike any other national Aboriginal organization, CINA receives NORCOR funding. Equity funding is an important discussion that has not been explored fully to date. Our support to Dr. Cindy Blackstock human rights fight for equity funding for Indigenous children is currently needed, and we stand strong beside her. The greatest potential that CINA has in its ability to deliver the delivery of primary health care by investing in supporting nurses who work in each of these 655 different communities across the country. What we do know is the Auditor General's report reported that 1 in 45 nurses is adequately trained to work in these northern communities. As a result of these growing requests, we have been working on a collaborative Indigenous partnership framework, which I can discuss later, but it really establishes how we are better prepared and situated to work with non-Indigenous communities and partners. Our second recommendation is to support the implementation, as you've heard about, the mental health framework stemmed from the collaborative work together. CENA was a major contributor to that work, and we stand by that report. It really addresses the 6 continuums of care of community development, early identification, secondary risk, active treatment, specialized treatment, and facilitation of care. And I think that's where nursing is often underestimated. We have the skills, the abilities, and the capabilities to foster that. Our third recommendation is to support the reorientation of health services to focus on healthcare closer to home. Healthcare that supports the capacity building and health, economic, environmental sustainability. By giving children the skills, the youth and the skills and capabilities to cope with the impact of intergenerational trauma from dislocation and displacement from their families, they are much better to handle the epistemic violence that continues to impact the health and well-being of our communities. There's ample evidence to show that the point systemic issues are continue to contribute to these inequities. CENA has been able to develop some much-needed training with we propose that the federal investment into Indigenous health and education, these funds be used to support the new health accord, which calls for the reorientation of health services. This training can help reduce racism and discrimination found to have a significant impact on the people's health. A study that I'm closely involved in is examining the rural access to healthcare has revealed that people living in these rural settings are even further marginalized by biased informed care. With the evidence, it's clearly that we need to put in a whole government approach that supports the people and puts the power back in their hands. And while there's new and promising partnerships models, First Nations, such as the First Nations Health Authority here in British Columbia, there's lots to be done for comprehensive holistic approach. Services continue to be siloed. So now I'd like to give Lindsay an opportunity to discuss her home healthcare closer to home.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Jones. I'm Inca Nutmuk from Kamloops, BC. I'm a 4th-year nursing student attending TRU. I'm also a member of CENA. I have 3 recommendations in response to the suicide epidemic among Indigenous people in our communities. Nursing understands that when working with such a marginalized and vulnerable population, it is salient to work on a professional development with regards to building capacities within the communities. Nursing is more than psychomotor skills. It is relational practice to work in culturally safe ways to build bridges to close the equity gaps. Research shows that retaining highly trained and effective healthcare workers is important in providing quality, accessible healthcare to people living in rural areas. There also needs to be support systems in place for nurses providing care within these communities. Nurses know that community strength and how to build them, understanding that solutions come from within the community. In the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada calls to action number 8 states, we call upon the federal government to eliminate the discrepancy of federal education funding for First Nation children being educated on reserves and those First Nation children being educated off reserves. While the social determinants of health movement has helped to shift some of the blame off the individuals to political and economic systems, the focus is still on what is underprovided in the community and how those deficiencies negatively affect children and families. My last recommendation is to build on the idea of healthcare closer to home. As a foster parent, I believe that instead of removing children from their families and their culture, we as a country and healthcare providers need to start fostering the families in the tradition appropriate ways. Research has found that adolescents may also be less at risk for suicide if they experience the neurophysiological benefits of connectedness, like believing in one of the value for care for, and able to better regulate their emotions through social affiliation and attachment with caring adults. Starting at the grassroots, nursing can support families to empower their children to build confidence and nurture their opinions. so that they have a voice and develop coping skills. Fostering the families to provide an environment where children thrive instead of removing these children so they can go from, instead of going from foster home to foster home, which only perpetuates the ongoing issue. Thank you for this opportunity.
So in summary, we want to advocate for the nurses to be perfectly situated at the front lines to provide immediate intervention, to teach about protective factors that stem from our own lived experiences. I want to leave 2 words with the committee, Kiam and Akimoma, which means enough has been said and that we must never give up. These actions are about resiliency and the internal power we each have to contributing and eliminating this escalating crisis we face as Canadians. And we look forward to taking any questions from you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Doctor, and thank you very much, Ms. Jones. We're going to move right into questions now, and we have until 4:40. I think you might be in a different time zone, so we have 45 minutes for questions and answers. So we do those on a rotating basis amongst committee members, and the first round of questions last for 7 minutes, and that allows time for both the question being asked and the answer as well. And I'll use the red and yellow card system for that as well. So the first question is coming from Gary and Andasangri, please.
Thank you very much for your presentations this afternoon. I'd like to pick up on the concept of health care closer to home. I know many of the challenges stem from the fact there are very few health care providers in the communities. And I think even more, you alluded to earlier that once people, if they're studying in the health field, they're not going back into the communities and working. They're oftentimes lured into going into the major centers because of maybe better facilities and better conditions. What do we need to do to make sure that we're able to get health care providers into the local communities, make sure that they're there for a longer period of time, and that they're part of the community as opposed to those who are there in locums or who come fly in and out for a shorter period of time?
I think the evidence is...
Please, go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I thought that was...
No, go ahead, Doctor.
Okay, I was just going to say, I think the evidence is very clear, is that when specifically you're looking at Indigenous nurses who have been trained, the retention is higher for them to stay in their community. So our Indigenous nurses are staying and working within their own community. What we need to do is we need to create better support systems for them, particularly our rural and northern areas. There's very limited support in terms of training. They can't leave the community to get access to extend their training or professional development because they have no one to replace them. So then we need to build a pipeline or a pathway to Indigenous careers so that we're attracting students into health careers at a grade 3 or 4, because what I found out in a survey I had done with children is that by the time they're in grade 3 and 4, they're actually being deferred away from a health science background, because the belief is that you're setting them up for success by encouraging them to go into education or social work. So that creates this huge gap for interest in going into any kind of health careers or health science programs. And then when you even look at the education being available to First Nations kids on reserve, they don't even have an opportunity to have those higher level courses so that they are prepared to go right into a university. So I think it's very complex, but the evidence is really clear that if you support Indigenous people to go into health careers at a very early age, they will stay, and they are staying in their communities providing a great service, but they are burning out at fast rates because of the lack of support that they have.
So, Doctor, in relation to nurses, I think you mentioned there are about 9,000 Indigenous nurses. What is the ratio for doctors who are of Indigenous backgrounds, and what do we need to do to increase those numbers in order that they too can, contribute to the whole overall healthcare, particularly the healthcare closer to home concept?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I can't speak for the Indigenous Physicians Association to what their numbers are, but I know nursing has definitely had growing numbers. I know when the recruitment and retention strategies are out in the community, there is a focus on medical training, and I'm often advocating that we need more support in terms of advocating for nurses training. Right now, that 9,000 is underestimated, but that number only represents the number of nurses working within our province. Those do not actually include numbers of nurses who are working in First Nations community, because that data came from the family survey, which was off reserve. So that's a gross underestimate of that. But in terms of national standards, if you look at how many patients registered nurses are able to have first contact with as opposed to Indigenous physicians. I often work with a lot about communities, because you hear this all the time, is that we need doctors, and I say, actually, no, you don't need doctors. Yes, we need doctors, but nurses can really help support the whole focus of care, because not everybody needs to go to a doctor for a temperature, or some investigation. You have a registered nurse adequately prepared can actually streamline some of the priorities faster. We can get appropriate care faster to the people who need it most if you implement a nurse pathway program, starting right from health careers to LPNs to registered nurses to degrees, community health, and to nurse practitioners. Nurse practitioners is a really underutilized group of nurses who have amazing skill. Working with them in Musqueam, we have one in Musqueam in Alberta, and I know there's one that splits her time between Paul Band and Alexander, and they actually show that they've been able to reduce and improve the efficiency and satisfaction with clients' healthcare contacts.
Now, this is to both of our guests today. In terms of funding for these services, I know you mentioned the challenges with funding. What are the specific challenges that you see with respect to increasing the pool of healthcare practitioners, including nurses and doctors, and also what other impediments do you see in terms of healthcare as a whole when people need specialty, or they need oral, need to go to a dentist and so on? Maybe if you could just touch on that.
Want me to start that, Kelvin, and you can add to it? I'd like to.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Crow. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to address the question, Chair. Thank you for the question. And the question is from our perspective, how do we see supporting paraprofessionals and professionals in our First Nation communities? And I think at the very beginning, looking at actually having positions that are recognized within our funding agreements to communities around health coordination, health supports, supporting the physicians. So it's really about dollars being recognized in the funding agreement, one. Some communities don't have a health coordination amount, so we would say that a defined scope of practice within our health directors and the communities, we offer that. And one of the other things is once you have that health director who's trained and certified, wage parity becomes an issue as well in retaining those quality professionals in our communities.
Okay, I think we're out of time, unless you wanted to squeak in a very short remark there, Mr. Morrison.
Well, I was just going to say that as far as retaining doctors, I think there's an issue, especially in the area where I come from, in terms of accessing the ability to even entertain bringing doctors into our area. We use nurse practitioners to a great degree. However, within our First Nations, there's a real discrepancy in terms of having doctors available to us. So it's not just a matter of funding. It's like there's a system out there that recruits doctors, but we're not part of that recruiting system, and we have to be part of that recruiting system if things are going to change.
Okay, thanks very much. The next question is coming from Arnold Viersen, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to our guests for being here today. Ms. Crow, you mentioned earlier it was like an acronym RER. Is that right?
ARI, Aboriginal Health Human Resources Initiative.
Could you repeat that again?
AHHRI, Aboriginal Health Human Resources Initiative, ARI.
Okay. And you're just saying that that would be one clear way that we could make a difference, is to change perhaps the percentages of the two streams of the funding on that? Would that be a correct assessment of your recommendation?
Chair, I'd like to address that question.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I think that's one very specific and concrete way we
Yeah.
could look at developing the competencies within community-based workers. So there's two streams that are identified, and that's one, supporting scholarships and bursaries to people who are going into health professions, like nurses and like doctors. But the one we focus on, and that's available to a health director, for example, if they wanted professional development or to achieve certification, they would be applying to the second stream of that funding that's now available, and that is through the community-based worker. So it's community-based workers such as mental health, when you look at the program compendium, diabetes workers, you're looking at all those unregulated allied health workers that are competing for those funds. And right now that's $1.5 million spread out throughout the country through the FNIB regional offices.
You also, I liked how you said we're talking about life promotion strategies. I'll stick with that. You talked about a Thunderbird strategy. This is the first I hear of this. If you just perhaps lay that out a little bit for us and maybe point us in a direction to go looking.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. The Thunderbird Partnership Foundation is actually formerly known as the National Native Alcohol and Drug Foundation. So a long-serving history in Canada in being leaders in addiction services. So that's primarily funded out of community-based worker training dollars out of Health Canada. So they have that long-standing history. And what I was saying about them is that they would be key in having this discussion because they advocate for mental health services as part of their mandate. But the piece around supporting the framework is actually one that's not unfamiliar to this committee, and that's the First Nation Mental Wellness Continuum Framework. And I know you've heard that in testimony from Chief Day and a number of other persons, such as Sina as well.
If I could just direct my questions to Dr. Lisa here. You mentioned something about when, in terms of dealing with children that are taken out of their parental care and placed in foster care. Could you elaborate on that a little bit and perhaps give us an example of where you've seen something that's worked rather than the traditional methods?
Do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, I would like to speak to this. So there has been a couple scenarios where the child has been taken out of the home. Now, whether it's deemed... Okay, sorry. I really believe that we need to start helping the families and build their cultural competencies back up within their homes and in the communities, instead of removing them from the home and then we're just giving them back and forth over and over again. And
You're right.
If we can just start at the grassroots. There has been situations where if we know of a young female who's pregnant, we start at that stage on teaching them how to look after the baby once it's here, its proper needs, and the roles and responsibilities within the families, instead of just instantly taking the child away. That is, I think, a huge step in the right direction, is starting right at the grassroots.
And just to speak a little bit more to that, I know in my own community of Beaver Lake, what our community is starting to do is whenever we're doing any kind of health programming, we have a relationship with the child welfare people where the families that are left in the community, the child's been apprehended, they'll bring the child so that we can then engage, they can support that family unit. That has been shown to be very effective to help this transition back home. But I totally agree with the message that Lindsay was providing in terms of we need to support children to stay in the homes. We need to reorientate services to building capacity within the home, as opposed to spending millions and millions of dollars shipping families out across the country, and focus on building the family as opposed to just breaking down the family dynamics. And I think there's some good examples across the country where that is starting to give us some good indication. And I think if you look at Bella Bella right there, you've probably heard all about that. The youth are really reorientated back to the land and the communities and family units. And evidence is clear. I mean, supporting family units, right? And I have to speak to my own survivalship. And I think about when I was removed from my community of Beaver Lake and brought all the way over here to BC. One of the things that the foster always kept me grounded and striving in that aspiration was those foster homes always supported me getting to know who my family was. And so it was that link, I think, that was really a key attribute to the success. You see that in my other siblings who were all apprehended and they weren't in families that did support their transition back to their family. You could see the clear differences in my immediate family on how that's impacted that removal system. So.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next question is coming from Georgina Jolibois, please.
Thank you for the presentations. They're terrific presentations. I have those similar discussions in my riding. I come from northern Saskatchewan and an MP for Daysnetha-Missinipi Churchill River riding. Recently, in my riding, we had 3 completed suicides with kids who are between 12 and 14. I have this discussion with other physicians, Aboriginal physicians and nurses in the riding, and the need for the culturally relevant from those children who are removed from families and the communities. How far do we need to go to push this about making the real change where it really at the core, at the level that because our youth are hurting, our families are hurting. We know that day in, day out. Culturally relevant physicians, nurses, per province. In my province, we struggle, the province struggles with adapting this very concept about culturally appropriate. Nationally, how can we ensure that we push this to continue to do the work? So at the grassroots level, that we have a community-based, culturally relevant approaches.
Well, one of the recommendations, I would like to speak to that, please, Mr. Chair. I think one of the recommendations that I've said right from the beginning, and I believe so firmly in this organization, the Canadian Indigenous Nursing Organization, is part of the solution. We are front lines. We are seeing these kids in immunizations clinics. We're seeing them in home visits. We don't have a lot of support. We're focused on treatment right now under the current. Is my own personal philosophy, is that we are too focused on treatment. So our community health nurses are focused in that area, which leaves us health promotion. We need to put nurses back in the school systems. We need to put nurses back in the community. I think the funding cuts. I want to tell you a story about a little girl that I met up. Her name is Casey, up in Yukon, and this was very striking to me. And like I said, I acknowledge that I am a survivor, and I've gone. Our family is working on a lot of healing. When I was in the community in Whitehorse a couple weeks ago, there was a little girl, no more than 9 years old, and she was out playing. It was late, and I was scolding her, and I was telling her to go home, and where's your mom, and trying to be that community advocate. She turned around and really foul-mouthed and let me kind of know where to go. And so I was kind of like, oh my God, she's only like 8 or 9 years old. And so I was kind of upset about this. And I was talking to my brother and sister-in-law in the house about this, like, how do we help this girl? And we were talking about boundaries and family dynamics and everything. And it wasn't until my brother said to me, he says, sis, I don't know why you're getting all worked up. He said, You know, would you want to go in there if you knew that 5 of her immediate family members committed suicide in that home in the last 5 years, and now she's got her single mom and this child growing up? No wonder this girl, that really impacted me. So when you talk about our priority, that's huge. We have, 8, 9-year-olds seeing this on a daily basis in some of our communities, and if we don't step up now, this suicide is a symptom of it. It's a symptom of colonization, of a fractured system. I think it's emergency state, as you've all said, which is why you guys are looking into this work. So, I think about Casey being 8 years old and not wanting to go into that home and her rebelling. And I can't say that as an adult I'd want to go back in there. But where else does she go?
Thank you.
So, thank you very much. I just want to address this question a little bit from my experience. And I've been doing this for over 30 years. I guess one of the things that it's important to know is that you can't fix a system or a community that's broken without investing in that community. I think that I think a lot of people believe that if we take children out of the community, that it's going to benefit that community. But I think what needs to happen, from my own personal experience, is that we need to invest in those communities. One of the things I've noticed that when a crisis happens is that everybody's ready with a crisis team to go into the communities and deal with the crisis. Once the crisis is over, everybody leaves. And I think there's a real disconnect there. I think what needs to happen is that you need to really look at making long-term plans for the children and for the people in the community. And I've known suicides to happen very young as well as very old. So it's not just one specific age group that's affected. It's a whole community sometimes that is suffering from the impacts of what occurred over the course of the last 500 years with our people. And I don't think that I think it would be immature thought to even think that we can fix that in one quick fix. There has to be massive investments into these communities. We have to go in there, we have to talk with the children, we have to talk with the adults, the parents, we have to talk with the elders, we have to bring people together and start a discourse on how we're going to do this. And this, to me, this is the thing that's been lacking in a lot of the situations that has happened. Crisis team comes in, the crisis is over for a little bit, and then everything goes back to normal. And then another one pops up somewhere else, and the crisis team goes over there. But there has to be some long-term planning for this. And I think the other part to that is we rely on health directors in the communities for the most part to do this. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping to speak more about that health director role later on. But the health director is only one person in a larger system that's out there. And I think that if we really look at trying to address the long-term needs of the communities in terms of what their social, recreational, and health activities are, then I think you'll begin to see some changes in terms of how people are acting out. We have to give people hope. Without hope, these are the things that occur within our communities, and they're occurring far too often. So that means that we're not doing a very good job of providing that hope across the board. I think we should all be ashamed of ourselves for not doing that.
Out of time there. Okay, thank you. The next question is from Don Resnack, please.
Well, thank you all for your presentations today. I'm sure the analysts are going to take what you said and get the information in our report. What hit home for me was what Dr. Bearskin was saying about taking the child out of the community and not having that family connection, that cultural connection, and we see that far too often in our. We're getting into child welfare agencies and what they've been doing over many years, and I think I don't know the exact stat, but I've heard it over and over. There's more children in care today than ever during the residential school situation in our country, and that's deplorable in my view. I want. For a moment, I guess I want to hear from Mr. Morso regarding more regarding the health director role in the community and what exactly. I don't understand the role. Is it for an individual community? Is it for a number of communities? Can you just explain exactly what that role is?
Okay, well, thank you very much, Don, for the question. I'll do my best to answer it. My understanding is that, like, I can speak for our area. A health director is the person who is the one who's responsible for the health and well-being of the people in the community. There's a couple of things you need to know about that role of health director. First of all, it's not a role that is paid for by the government of Canada. Many First Nations have to try and pool their money together to create that role. And so it was originally, I think, probably put in place for reporting mechanisms. Somebody had to be responsible for reporting back to the government. But over the course of time, as we begin to, as our people begin to find out about the horrendous discrepancies in our health outcomes compared to other people, the task of improving those health outcomes for our people begin to fall towards the health director. So when anything happens in the community, we look to the health director for guidance in how to deal with that. One of the things that with health directors is that there is very little support out there for health directors. They're kind of like a beacon out there doing the job all by themselves. Mm-hmm. And when things happen that go wrong, everybody looks at the health director and says, well, what happened? Mm-hmm. And yet, First Nations Inuit Health has pulled back training for health directors and for health people across the board. The CHR training is almost non-existent now. And we see this across the board. So our people are left to try and find training wherever they can get it, whatever way they can get it. Thank God for people like Miriam who has a program that's set up so that our health directors can access that. The problem becomes then is where does the health director get the resources to improve his own set of skills in order to do that? You have to understand that that things are different than what they were 30 years ago. The complexities of the health determinants that affect our people are a lot different. We see chronic illnesses that come into our communities. We see mental health. It's no longer just alcoholism. It's alcoholism with bipolar. It's alcoholism with prescription drug abuse. It's all of these things that are left at the doorstep of the health director who's supposed to deal with all these things. And then when we don't provide any training or any help for the health director, we say, well, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. And so that's the situation that we see in First Nations. And I was a health director. I spent most of my days dealing with crisis, the daily crisis that goes on in my community. I had no time to look at, well, what can I do in terms of planning for my people so that my people can get healthier? And so these are the situations that occur within many First Nations. And until those inequities are addressed, we'll continue to flounder in terms of our own health outcomes. We'll see our young people dying at a greater rate than other people. We'll see all of these things that are occurring. And you don't have to look very far to see the horrid health outcomes that are facing our people. And we have one person out there who's charged with trying to change this, and we provide no support to them.
So in your area of which is on the western part of my riding, as I understand it, the area that you cover is a number of First Nations. And this question's for Marion. Is it typical that health directors cover a wider area, a bunch of First Nations, or do individual communities have individual health directors that are seemingly the on-the-ground experts in terms of the needs, the health needs, including the mental health needs of the communities?
Thank you for the question. Appreciate that. In relation to our organization, we look at the health director position in terms of the community. There are 600, depending on whose stats you use, 630 to 650 communities across Canada. First Nations and Inuit Health Branch identified that there are potentially 500 health directors across Canada. Those are health directors in community. Then you have health directors that are in charge of tribal health services. Then you take it to the PTO level with the provincial territorial organizations. So health director is a very key role in terms of the community individually and that one person who employs doctors, nurses, and all the paraprofessionals that go on. But then take it to the tribal council, they could be looking at providing services to a number of communities in the surrounding region. And that includes treatment centers as well, treatment center directors as well belong in terms of health director management.
We're out of time on that one. Thank you very much for that. We're moving now to 5-minute questions. So I'll just invite both members and witnesses to try to come to the point quickly so we can fit as many points in as we possibly can. And the first 5-minute question comes from Kathy McLeod, please.
Thank you. And also I'd like to welcome some Kamloops colleagues at the table. And of course, we had Dr. McCormick not so long ago, so I think we're certainly been very well represented in this study. You know, I'm certainly going to pick up, I'll start with picking up in terms of the nursing issues. And I think, you know, the nurses can be an absolute key player as one of the care providers that tend to be in the communities and not flying in and out. So I'll date myself. I went to my 33rd nursing reunion last 2 weeks ago, and the Dean of Nursing was proudly saying, well, we have a 90% admission. You know, people need 90% now to get into our programs. And I think we all looked at each other in shock, for one thing, and said, wow, you don't need 90% to be a good nurse. So have we created the opportunities for young girls and boys from Indigenous communities who want a career in nursing? Have we swept some of those barriers out of the way in terms of 90% is ridiculous, to be quite frank.
Did you have anybody in mind, Kathy?
I think Dr.
Sure, Dr. Lisa, yeah.
Okay. Great, Kathy. And yes, I'm very new to Thompson River, and I was very excited to come to the university here. They were very aggressively recruited me here because of their program on Indigenous health research here. So when I look at health careers across the board, yes, you're absolutely right. I totally agree with you. Those who were targeting at 90% interest, you know, sometimes it doesn't translate. Book smart does not always translate to a really good, awesome bedside nurse. So one of the things I advocate for is this pathway to health careers, starting them in grade 3 and 4, teaching them that medical terminology, leveling it up so that by the time they get to grade 7, you know, they have a little bit more knowledge. They do the anatomy and physiology. So there's a really good way to strengthen that so that we could actually create a pipeline right from high school right into a health career position. They work do health career for 27 weeks. They work, take care of their families. They go back and they do the LPN for 2 years. Then we create the pipeline further and extend it on into the registered nursing program and the baccalaureate program. Right now, as you know, Thompson River has committed to developing the first Indigenous master's program in the country. It'll be specifically with a focus on Indigenous nursing leadership. I think that's really telling. I think, as I mentioned earlier, our Indigenous nursing pool is a really untapped resource. You have an expertise here to fill a gap. We know that they're most trusted health professional in our community. Our communities see that too. And so we are at the bedside. We are at the, we are in the alleys. We're in the back of the cars. We have that relationship with our youth that we have to really start building that bridge strongly, looking at equity seats and equity funding. We need to create more. I know TRU has an Aboriginal health careers program here. And it was kind of interesting just circulating in some of the communities here was asking students, well, how come we don't have more Aboriginal students in? And, it's that belief that they are not smart enough. And so I've talked to 3 or 4 adults in the last 2 weeks trying to encourage them to go into an LPN program, right? They're mature students, and I always use my own lived example. I had a single parent with 4 kids, and I went through every health career program from the time I was 18, and I just finished my PhD in 2014. I was able to be a better healthcare provider with the school because I was able to navigate around my classes, and I was actually ended up being at home for my children more so than if I was committed to doing a 12-hour shift. So I think that for me is a dream, and I think a lot of kids come already with a life experience of they know how to get their grannies to the doctors, they know how to interact with emergency services, they know all about emergency by time they're 12 years old. And so they're already navigating the system and the healthcare system at a very young age. So I think we can draw on those strengths.
Thank you. Just want to correct, I was only 30 years. I better correct that for the record.
Oh, sure, you say no.
So my next question for Marion.
Kathy, I'm so sorry. You're out of time. It was a 5-minute question, and we're over 5.
5 minutes. Short.
Yeah, they go fast.
Thank you.
The next next question is from Mike Basio, please.
Thank you all so much for being here today. Really appreciate the discussion. So there's 9,000 Indigenous nurses in the Canadian Indigenous Nursing Association. I assume all 9,000 are Indigenous?
We do not have 9,000 members part of our organization. We just have under 200.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I heard that number somewhere.
We have a potential to reach 9,000 nurses.
Okay, so that if you were to fully staff all Indigenous communities, you estimate it would take 9,000 nurses to do so? Is that where the 9,000 number comes from?
The 9,000 number is a number that was collected through the 2011 Community Health Survey, where it was self-reported whether or not they were registered nurses. So there was a question on that survey if you were Aboriginal and were you a registered nurse. So that's where the number comes from. So what I'm saying is that there's that potential for us to reach those, right? One of the historical things about CINA is that people see us as a home base where they come and they're able to be supported by other Indigenous nurses with that same mindset. So yes, we only have 200, and we have no public funding, no core funding to keep us. So we're all registered nurses working full-time, working off the sides of our desks to do this volunteer.
Thank you. So do we have Marion, maybe you can help with this. Do we have an idea as to how many nurses there are in Indigenous communities today, and what % of those nurses are Indigenous?
Thank you for that question, but I would actually go respectfully to my colleague Lisa to answer the question about how many Indigenous nurses are required across Canada. Respectfully, Lisa?
Well, if you're just looking at the First Nations communities, I think you could have, in each of the communities, to be truly effective, as Marion suggested, you need a few, depending on the size, a if we have 655 Indigenous First Nations communities, you need to at least have, create a support system there to do that work. So 3 to 4 nurses in each of those communities, depending on the size. The needs actually is huge on what we can do, what we need into the system. If you look at the numbers that we were...
Sorry, I apologize for cutting off, but I don't want to run out of my 5 minutes. Do we know how many nurses we have today supporting Indigenous communities?
No, and that's one of the issues that CENA would like to entertain, right? We want to actually do an official count of how many Indigenous nurses there are across Canada. That has never been discussed. If we go through our provincial bodies, we still wouldn't even know because it's not a requirement to voluntarily self-identify.
Okay, and so right now, one of the questions
that we need.
Okay, and one of the questions earlier was around nurse training and the funding for that. So is there a dedicated funding today for training for nurses, for Indigenous nurses? Okay. And
there is funding available. There is funding available through Inspire. So they do offer health careers training. So that's a national one. Each of the provinces do target, some small bursaries to support Indigenous nurses. The Canadian Nurses Foundation just this year launched a big initiative hoping to hit a 1 million mark to support Indigenous nurses.
So the only type of funding that is there for Indigenous nurses is the same funding that's available for any post-secondary students of Indigenous background today. Okay, so there is no dedicated funding. And so we don't know how many nurses are out there. We don't know how many nurses are needed. We don't know what percentage of those nurses are Indigenous. And I have 1 minute left. Or is that 30 seconds?
That's 1 minute.
Okay. So are there any schools around healthcare training in Indigenous communities?
No, there's not. That's the vision of CENA, as we'd like to have developed. We talked with Jane Philpott last week about creating a 10-year plan looking at creating Indigenous nursing areas of excellence in each of the 4 directions of our country. So if we had one in the north, one in the south, one in the east and the west, we could really do some great work around supporting and recruiting and retaining Indigenous nurses across the country.
Oh, okay.
We're out of time there, I'm afraid. So we've come down to our final question that will fit in our time, and that's from David Yurdiga, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and also I'd like to thank the witnesses for presenting today and taking our questions. I'd like to mention that Beaver Lake's within my riding, and it's my wife's family's from Beaver Lake, so nice to see you here, Dr. Lisa. My first question is, we spend a lot of time and capital recruiting healthcare professionals, but what is being done to retain these individuals, especially in the remote communities?
Actually, it's very frustrating because I get weekly calls as the president from Indigenous nurses in these communities, burnt out, stressed out, no support. Once one nurse was in her community for 3 weeks providing 24/7 care. There's no way we're going to be able to retain that nurse. She's going to be so burnt out. So there's a huge lack of support, community support. And I think that was really clear by the Auditor General. 1 in 45 nurses are prepared to work in the communities, into their scope of practice. So to me, that's hugely telling that we have not developed a very functioning healthcare system.
I'd like to add to that. At TRU campus, we have an Indigenous Nurse Health Committee, and we now have one of our practicum placements is in Hazelton. So I think with the way that Thompson Rivers University is starting to branch out and have placements in more Indigenous rural communities is an excellent start.
Thank you. Can I hear from Marianne Crow, please?
Thank you. I think, too, in further quantifying that, we need to have the supports in place to retain our Indigenous health professionals, not just at the national level, the regional level, but at the community level. It's organizations like CINA, like IPAC, the Indigenous Physicians Association, like FNHMA, who are providing the network to keep those people in place in our communities. Without that, I mean, I've heard health directors say all across Canada, I wish you would have been in place 10 years ago. We're 5 years young, our organization, 6 years young. And we need to support the professional associations. And as Lisa mentioned, we're 2 organizations right now that are unfunded.
So if we had funding, what can be done to retain these health professionals? Is there what do you envision that would make a big difference?
I think Lisa will have a lot of thoughts on this too. The number of projects are endless that we could look at to help retain our supports. And there are a number of projects that we've put forward to the Government of Canada around a hotline of some sort, like you would see in crisis intervention. If I were a health director and I had a question about how to report, who can I call as an actual support to me to address the health inequities in my community? So I think that's one thing, and that's a role that national organizations have. And I think it kind of goes back to equitable. You know, there are national organizations that are supported, core funded actually, and you're looking at 2 of the frontline health services delivery organizations that have nothing.
How much time do you have left?
20 seconds left.
20 seconds.
No, sorry, a minute 20, I beg your pardon.
Minute 20. Oh,
Yep.
Great. Okay, you know, we hear a lot of people going into these rural communities and leaving, but I'm looking at the educational aspect of things. You know, when a young youth goes into the nursing profession, how is there traditional spiritual healing incorporated in the post-secondary institution?
That question to me?
Yes.
I can't speak to the nursing, but I can speak to the education and certification criteria as set out by this professional association. And the training that is provided through the organization of FNHMA is relevant around incorporating the culture of how people practice in our communities. And that's why we exist, is because we did an environmental scan across Canada and said, yeah, tons of universities deliver business administration, health services administration, but there was nobody in Canada who was able to develop a curriculum that spoke to the governance of our communities and also spoke to all the jurisdictional issues that our communities represent while respecting Western medicine and incorporating our traditional knowledges. So we celebrate and share in that.
I think we're out of time there, I'm afraid. So, and we're out of time for the 2 panels as well with that final question. I would like to thank all of our witnesses today for coming. Marion Crow and Calvin Morrisseau from First Nations Health Managers Association, and Dr. Lindsay Burke-Berskin and Lindsay Jones from Canadian Indigenous Nurses Association. Thank you so much for your heartfelt and thoughtful testimony today. Will certainly help us out a great deal in the work that lies ahead. Thank you. And we will just suspend for a few minutes before we go in camera.
you.